Welcome to the Self Love Uncensored Podcast. We are your hosts. I am Vanessa McWilliams.
And I'm Amanda Wozni.
And we are self-proclaimed experts in all things self-love.
Here you'll find uncensored discussions about life, living unapologetically, and becoming our best selves. Welcome to today's episode.
Good. We'll preface this because we were just laughing about it, that it's Easter break in our households. And so we have little humans. We both have boys, which is actually that I just
all boys.
Yes. So if you hear some commotion or a lot of commotion, this is real life. And we were just saying that, like, we talk about like showing up imperfectly, right? Like we just did an episode about that last week or the week before about imperfect action, and we're not editing anything. Like this is life.
Not anyways,
right? Yeah. I guess I shouldn't say that yet. 100%.
Yeah.
But this episode, we are going to dive right into talking about the universe, energy, manifestation, visualization, everything about like the law of attraction, because some really cool things have been happening for us behind the scenes. I can't speak for Amanda, but for myself, we just really, I guess, have a couple cool things happening. And the only way we can really describe everything that's been going on for the two of us is that we were both kind of at a place a couple months ago where we didn't really know what the next step was in business and, you know, getting more of our word out as far as like our coaching and our speaking and stuff. And when I had asked Amanda about doing a podcast with me, I was kind of hesitant, thinking, oh my God, if we do a podcast, like we need to have all the stuff and we need to do all the things and everything has to be perfect. But in reality, like we're showing up in imperfect action with kids running around on freaking Easter break and all the things. And Amanda just ducked out there for a second to tell the kids to be quiet. But because we've been doing this imperfect action, things are starting to really fall into place with some stuff that hasn't, we've been kind of grinding at, and now is kind of coming to us in an easier flow. So I think today is a really good time to talk about like just the law of attraction and flow state and stuff, because holy man, it's real.
I know. We've been texting back and forth so much lately. Oh my God, can you believe this happened? Oh my goodness, this happened to me. Yeah. And it's like, it's crazy that like the podcast seems so, really it's insignificant in the scheme of things. Like it's not like it's a massive box office overnight success or something. Like we got 100 something downloads now, which really isn't a lot compared to what's out there. But just that stepping off the edge and just going for it. And then the universe is like, hey, I see you asking for more. Here you go. Let's see how you can handle this little bit. And if things go good and you keep going for things and chasing things and working hard and keeping your head down and being humble and being a good person, and before long, it's crazy how it can give you what you want.
Well, and that's the thing, like you nailed it, is there's one, I keep saying is I don't know why I'm stuttering today. That's one thing that's so important to highlight before we start talking about this, is there's a big difference between visualizing, I can't talk today, visualizing and asking for the thing that you want. But there's always a step two. You have to put in the work. You have to start doing the things that are going to get you closer to that, right? Because the universe, I'm a true believer that when you ask the universe for something, it's going to start to conspire to make that happen for you. But a lot of people will put, a vision board together, or they'll do a visualization technique or something like that. And then they just sit back and they don't do anything, and then wonder why the universe isn't making something happen for them. Right. And that's the thing that we wanted to talk about today, is that second piece is so important. You can't just slap a picture of Hawaii on a vision board when you're, working a 9-to-5 job, working paycheck to paycheck, and you're not doing anything to increase the chances of you going to Hawaii. Like, yes, the universal might put like a beach blowout sale thing on your email. Woohoo, we can go for half the price. But what have you done to go halfway and meet the universe, right? Like, have you begun trying to save extra money? Have you been selling off stuff in your house that you don't need to put away that extra money? Like, that's the piece that I think is so important that so many people miss, is yes, you can ask the universe for anything, but you have to put in the work to meet it halfway.
Action.
Right?
Yeah. You
Action.
have to take action.
Even imperfect action. And that's exactly like today before we started the podcast. We're like, kids are running around the house, dogs are barking, parents are coming to pick up kids to go for bike rides at wrong times. It's like, no, we're just going to do it anyways because, this just still shows the universe like we're all in, right?
Yep.
And actually, I was just looking, we have 158 downloads so far of our podcast. So that's pretty awesome.
Yes.
That's very exciting. Considering.
Not too bad for how long we've been at it. That's not that bad at all. And if you think about that many people standing in a room, that's a lot of people that have listened.
I know. That's like filling a movie theater. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
That's good perspective.
Humble ourselves a little bit here.
Yeah, that's right. We're coming for the Major League Baseball stadium here soon, though.
Yeah, totally. Yes. Saddle Dome, 110%.
So where should we start? I think we made some notes here so that we can cover, because what we're going to talk about kind of covers a few different names for it. So you might have heard people talk about the universe. Some people are more religious. They might talk about God or different religions. It's kind of all the same idea. There's the law of attraction, which again is kind of the same concept. And then when you start getting rewarded in those areas, you come into flow state. So they kind of all relate to each other. And they kind of all involve the same sort of aspects of asking for what you want, or putting out the energy of what you want, or setting goals for what you want, or making vision boards for what you want. And then, like Vanessa said, the second part that requires you actually taking action towards those things.
Yeah.
So where do you want to start?
I think anywhere, quite honestly. I think let's start with flow state, because I think flow state is really kind of the what's that word? Predecessor? That's not the word.
That is the word, but is it really? I feel like flow state is like the reward after you've.
I feel like it's the before.
It's a circle. It's a circle.
Who knows?
From one to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other. Right? Well, it's true.
It is.
I mean, you don't just get into flow state and then you just live in flow state. Like if you go out on the lake, don't be careful on the lake though, because there's sharks in the lakes. If you go out there in a boat and you start rowing, things are great. You're cruising along, and then you stop rowing. Do you just keep going forever?
No, because that's when the lake shark gets you. You have to keep going.
You have to keep that action going, right? Yes. And you have to set your sights. Okay, I wanted to make it halfway. Now I'm halfway. Now I want to go all the way to the other side. Okay, I'm now to the other side. Now what's next?
Totally.
So it's constantly evolving and constantly changing and constantly requires continued action.
Mm-hmm. So absolutely. I feel like it is definitely like an after, but I feel like it's also a before thing too, because I feel like
the chicken or the egg.
It is. I know. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to this, to be honest.
I don't think we're going to answer this question.
No, but I feel like once you start to get into flow state, it starts to really cement for you. Okay, things are starting to like go easier for me here. Yes. This is the direction I need to go, versus when you're really struggling, or like when you're really stressed and stuff, and you're grinding. That's when we have to really focus on, okay, am I in the present right now, or am I living in the future and worried about what's going to happen, or thinking too much about things that I can't control, or am I living in the past and beating myself up over how I showed up before, et cetera, et cetera. So I think like flow state is a really great reminder too, once you get into that and things just seem to be kind of like the grinding stops, and not grinding as far as like, there's a couple different definitions for grinding. We're not talking about the obvious,
the dirty one,
no, but like you still have to do the work, right? Like that's the grind that's never going to go away. But when things just aren't working out the way that you want them to, and you're showing up and things aren't happening, and you still have to show up. But when you're in flow state, things just seem like the stress kind of dissipates away from doing the grind. I know for myself, like I absolutely love speaking. I love it. I get stressed out about it before I go on a stage because I'm not living in the present. But then as soon as I get on stage, everything just flows, right? Yeah. So then I know I'm in flow state. And then that's when I know this is the path that really lights me on fire. And then it kind of, it's the before everything else. But then it also is, I think flow state's kind of just the entire journey. It's the entire circle.
It's
because then
definitely the end game goal, that's for sure,
it
to get there,
is.
right?
Yes. Because
Yeah.
if you can set yourself up in a position where you're doing the thing that you love and you do the thing, or you end up in a place where you're doing the thing you love all the time,
Yeah.
that is like amazing flow state, because then you're getting paid to stay in flow state. You know, you've got sponsors that pay you to stay in to flow state. And yeah, if your end game can be to do all the things that keep you in flow state, that's perfect.
Yeah.
But it's just when you're starting out and you're in the bustle of it all and the hustle of it all, it's to just keep finding those little pieces of flow state that keep, you know, guiding you in the right direction. So
Yeah. And I
yeah.
think that's where the universe comes in too, because I feel like that's when you start getting little signs and little clues, little things will start happening that feel like especially at the beginning, or if you're not really like a super strong believer in this and this seems hokey pokey to you, you'll get little signs that feel very coincidental, but I truly believe that there are no coincidences. Everything honestly happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And you're right, like the universe is conspiring for greatness for everybody. It truly, truly is. Like the things that you want are within your control 100%. If you take action, you put out the right energy, you work on manifestation, you visualize these things, you make your goals clear, you surround yourself with the right people. And yeah, that's once you start seeing those signs and then you know you're on the right path, and you kind of get those little confirmations that what you're doing is working and you're headed the right way, that's when you start to enter that flow state. And that's kind of what I think bumps you back into it when you come out of it, because it is normal to go into and out of it, right? Like think about it like driving through town. You're going to hit red lights. Those are when you're bumping out of flow state. You have to stop. If you're driving a standard, you got to put it back in gear. It's a lot of work. You got to clutch, you got to, right? Like lots of things are going on. Then all of a sudden you're cruising and everything's good and it's easy. All the things you just did that were really hard got you into this state where things are easy, but that doesn't mean it's going to last forever. Soon you're going to have to stop and put gas in and things are going to get even harder than they were back at the red light. Right. So,
well, and it's the unexpected things that can throw us off the most, like the things that you don't even think. Cause I know anytime that you're ever talking about flow state, like you can already think of, okay, I know that this is probably going to be a distraction that's going to come up for me, or this is going to be something that is going to hinder me or whatever. And you're watching for those things. But if you're like driving a car and you're expecting the red lights, you're expecting the bus to cut you off, but then all of a sudden a freaking blimp comes and takes you out. Like those are the super unexpected things. But that's the most important part, is like having that end game goal and just knowing that no matter, and having, you know, that feeling in your heart and knowing that your why is strong enough that no matter what's going to happen, you're still going for that goal. The blimp can take you out on whatever highway you're driving on. It doesn't matter. You'll roll your car, you'll get back in and you'll go. Right. And that's the thing, is like flow state is such a game of just in and out, but you just have to keep focusing on how you feel when you're in it, and really what's happening for you when you're in it, because then that, when you get out of it, reminds you of just how strong it is when you're in it to try and get back in as fast as you can. Right.
Yeah.
I think it's so, so important. And like I said before, if you're really stressed about, you know, stress is something that comes up when we're either too focused on the past or the future, and flow state really does live when you're living in the present. And you're really just trying to do what you can with what you can control right now. And even if it's not huge, massive action, any little bit of action, especially if it's something that's kind of scary or new for you, that's a huge signal to the universe to say, okay, I'm trying. Your turn. Right. I think a perfect example of this just happened yesterday. And of course we record these a couple weeks out. So when this actually airs, it'll be a couple weeks from now. But I know myself, last 2 weeks ago, Jamie Kern Lima had brought out her book, or had had her book released, called Believe It, which is a fucking phenomenal book. So good. Like one of my top faves. And I had asked around, because money's tight right now. Like I've got a lot of money tied up in a lot of different things, trying to make things happen right now. And so I don't have the extra cash. And so I was like, well, I don't really want to spend an extra $30 on a book if I know a lot of my friends have it, because they bought it for the release. And one of my good friends had loaned me the book. And I was like, as I was reading it, I kept thinking, God, like, I love this girl. Like I love Jamie. She is freaking amazing. And I did see her at Unleash the Power Within with Tony Robbins. She did a 1 hour talk when I attended that. And I fell in love with her. Like she's my jam. And so she's been on my heart. And literally, as I was reading the book, she has one chapter about talking about asking the God, asking God or the universe for what you want. Like, get the balls to do that. And if you're stuck, ask for clarity. Like, if you don't believe that you're worthy of it, tell him or her or the universe that you don't believe that you're worthy of your dreams or whatever, and watch and see what answers you get. Right. And I literally was like, okay, pertaining to my book, for those of you who don't know, I've written a book and I've been trying to get an agent to pick it up to get it published in a big publishing company. And it's been almost a year, which is mind blowing that it's been almost a year. And a year has been my goal to try and go after an agent, and unfortunately hasn't been picked up yet. The hope is still there, but I've been really struggling over the last couple months whether I'm going to self-publish or not, because I want to impact the world on a bigger scale than just self-publishing. But I also want to make an impact. So self-publishing is great. There's lots of people I know who have done it, and it's an awesome option. But as I was reading her book and this one chapter, I thought, okay, maybe this is like a sign that I need to ask for what to do. And I did. I asked if it's time for me to self-publish, if that's actually truly the way that I'm supposed to go. And that was on because it's Easter break now, I'm lost. Today's Wednesday. So I'm like, oh my God, what's the day today? Yeah. So today's Wednesday. So I finished reading her book on Saturday. So Saturday I asked, and yesterday on Instagram, I found out that I won one of Jamie's 5 signed copies of her Believe It book. And so like, cool. I am telling you, for me, it was like, instantly I was like,
here's your sign.
Big neon light. It's like the Mack truck off cars, right? Here you go, jumbo jet, right? So for me, I'm like, okay, so now that's what we're going to do. We're going to self-publish. And I'm so happy, because as I was watching her at UPW, I literally kept thinking to myself, as she was talking, like, God, I love this human. Like, just to like be in her presence would be amazing. Cause of course I did it virtual. Yeah. But like, I was thinking like, oh God, I need to get into her like atmosphere, and she needs to like, she needs to know that like Vanessa McWilliams loves her, as creepy as that sound and as stalkerish as that sounds. But then like to find out that, like, to see my name on her personal Instagram that I had won, and then her sharing my stories, I was like, oh my God.
Fangirl.
To like the 10th degree, like crazy. Yeah. But that's just it. Like, sometimes we can ask for the things, but I think this is such a great other point to make, is like, we can ask for the things, but then you actually do have to be ready for the signs. Like, you do actually have to watch for them, because I could have just been like, oh, I was randomly selected to be, one of the 5 book winners out of millions of people who applied on this Instagram contest. Like, there's 1 million+ people on that post. Yeah. I could have just been like, oh, that was luck of the draw. But like, you have to be ready and be watching for when the universe actually gives you the answer. Because sometimes,
and you have to believe in it too. Like, right. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of the problem, is that, and we've covered this before, like the people that maybe have a more negative focus in their life and feel like victims, they just don't believe in this kind of stuff, because they believe that they're destined for all the shit and all the problems and all the bad things. Well, if that's what you focus on and that's what you think about constantly, that's what you're going to get more of. Like,
totally.
So we looked up a law of attraction definition, and this relates to this really well. The law of attraction is a law that uses the power of the mind to translate whatever is in our thoughts and materialize them into reality. In basic terms, all thoughts turn into things eventually.
Yes.
So if everything in your life and in your focus and in your mind and and everything on your radar is about all the bad and the terrible and the horrible, that's all you're going to continue to manifest and have show up in your life if you can't flip the narrative and get out of that toxic environment and start looking for some positive things. There is always something positive to be focused on. And even if everything sucks, that doesn't mean that you're not incapable of setting a goal for yourself of something positive to work towards. And as soon as you do that and start taking the smallest of steps, you will get rewarded. I promise you will.
Totally. And even to add on to that, like everyone's going to have days where they've had bad days. Like today has not been a great day for me. Like it's just, the day is just not going the way that we planned it to go. But that's the thing, we can focus on that, or we can focus on like the tiny blessings within the day. Right.
Yeah.
So you're still allowed to have the good days. It's not like we're going toxic positivity on you and going, don't think about anything negative, only the positive, right? Like shitty things are still going to happen. That's life.
Yeah.
That keeps us in the human experience. Right. But that's it. If you continue to focus on negative, that's what's going to show up in your life. And if you switch it and you focus on the positive, that's what's going to show up in your life. Right. Energy is energy. Right. You send negative energy out into the universe, it's going to mirror it back, unfortunately. And I am a true believer in that because I lived that for a lot of years.
Well, and you attract it. Like the people that are going to be your closest friends and family and stuff too are going to be those same like-minded, whether it's positive or negative. Those are the people that you're going to attract and keep in your circle until you can break that cycle within yourself. And it it affects everything. Like it can affect your, like the way you physically show up in the world with the words that you say, how your body looks, like that. It can take over everything if you don't keep it in check. So, and you're right. Like we're not trying to say that you have to be perfect. You don't have to wake up every day and be like, okay, send me all the signs, I'm going to be really good today. Like that's totally unrealistic. And that's really part of what the flow state is going in and out of what feels easy and what feels really fucking hard.
Yeah. Well, I think I had a kind of an epiphany around this a couple of years ago. I had seen a meme going around, and I'm sure you've seen it, where it was a tattoo at one point. It's like a motivational saying or something. I don't know whoever came up with it, but it goes something like, when the devil, or when Vanessa wakes up, or whoever your name is, when Vanessa wakes up, the devil goes, or that's wrong. Be the kind of girl that when the devil sees you wake up, they go, oh crap, or something. I can't remember how it goes.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And I had seen it I've seen it so many times. And literally I had a day when I was like, I don't like that, just because of like the negative connotation to it. But for me, I was like, that's not the way I'd think about it. I totally think about like, when Vanessa wakes up, God goes, he sits back, crosses those arms and goes, haha, watch this. Right. Yeah. Like, I don't think about like, oh crap, she's up, like I'm going to do all these great things or anything like that. But like, that's like the perfect example of it. Like, even when you're surrounding yourself with negative things, just in the wording and the feeling and the sayings and stuff like that, like memes are funny and all, but like really take notice of what you're actually, taking in visually, audio, like music, books you're reading, people that you're reading on Instagram, stuff like that, right? Like if you want to attract things into your life, you really have to get intentional, and surround yourself with the things that are going to get you there. Because if you're wanting to grow your self-love, and you don't feel so great about your body, why do you have a whole bunch of bikini models on Instagram who are super fit and have chefs make them all their food and their job is to work out? Like, that's not going to make you feel really great about yourself, right? Like if you want to welcome self-love into your life, then start following people on Instagram and social media who not only just like, you don't want to have it happen where like everybody agrees with you. You want to, of course, have like difference of opinion and stuff there, but don't just be following the people who you want to become. Also follow the people that are in the struggle along with you. Because for me, I know years ago when I started wanting to do my self-love journey, like I was following all the makeup companies and all of the, beach body building companies and all of those things, thinking like, oh, that's going to motivate me to want to be better or look better or whatever. And it just made me feel like garbage. Right. But then as soon as I started realizing like, I don't really actually want that for myself, I just want to find this balance where I actually want to be friends with who I truly am, and show up as that person, then I started following other people that looked like me and other people who were a step ahead of me in their own journeys and stuff, right? Like you don't have to go balls to the wall first thing out of the gate. But that's
Yeah.
the thing, like you really have to be careful of what you're consuming when you're going after this, because the law of attraction will meet that. It'll match that.
Yeah.
So it really is like a whole life game, right?
That's such a hard line to walk. And that's somewhere where I'm struggling right now, because we are still living in a very pandemic world.
Yes.
And there's a lot of toxic stuff out there, and there's a lot of division, and there's a lot, that's just going to happen in life, regardless of whether COVID's going on, right? You're not going to agree with everybody on everything, but it's also hard to sometimes, I don't really know how to say it, how to like want to still manifest positive things and still be a positive person, but also not be afraid to speak up for the things that you believe in, right? Like it still is important to be authentic to yourself.
Totally.
And you can still stand for things without being a total asshole about it.
Yep.
And people will respect you for it, and the universe will still reward you for things, right? So
totally. I 100% agree. And I think right now, like, especially because of the situations that we're in just with the pandemic and everything, like I totally agree that everybody still has to show up authentically, and we're all adults. Like when people start to get bitchy at each other on the internet and become keyboard warriors, it drives me nuts. I'm like, we teach our children in kindergarten to be nice to each other. You can have healthy conversations and debates 110%, right? Like you and I don't agree on everything, and that's okay. Right. Yeah. But we're adult enough to, we're adult enough to respect the other person. And you learn new things from people that don't have the same, opinions and stuff as you, which is amazing. And you don't have to, get along with everybody. We're not meant to like and love everybody that walks the face of the planet, but like, you just still have to respect them. Yeah. And I think that that's where things are getting really hard for people now, is that there's just so many opinions. Everybody is wanting to either show up if in the state that they're in, whether they're hurting or whether they're trying really hard to stay positive. And it is a really hard time to live right now. Like we have to give ourselves massive grace, but we also have to just remember that we're all in this together. Like we have to get rid of the division thinking, right? Like this is dividing a lot of people, and that's where pain and hurt lives. And I think like, even with like the law of attraction and everything, I don't think it mirrors it as much, but it mirrors you and how you show up in the world individually right now. Yeah. And like I said, like life is hard right now. Life is hard for everybody. You don't know what the person beside you in the grocery line is going through. You don't know if that $20 that they're spending milk and eggs and, on milk and eggs and bread is the last $20 they're going to have to feed their kids for 3 days. Like you just don't know. We all have to just show up in love and kindness for each other. Yeah. And that in itself is going to be how people are going to hopefully show up for us, but we have to release expectation from other people too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's not within our control.
No. But that's the thing is, when you're focused on what it is that you want and what your big goal is, no matter what happens, pandemic, whatever, you keep going towards that goal. It might not happen this year, but you just don't lose sight of that end game. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So, and your target clients too, like that's something that bothers me about it is, having an opinion and being able to say your opinion, and then the potential of alienating people, whether they're your family or your friends or somebody outside of that, right? Like it's definitely a fine line to walk with attraction, trying to bring things in and wanting to be abundant and being compassionate and all that kind of stuff, but still, you still have morals and principles that guide your life that you have to stay true to. And I think if you can do it in a respectful way, and be a decent person without, calling other people idiots and stuff online, like you can still have an opinion and have an educated opinion and say it respectfully and have people think about things and then still benefit from it. Like you won't be alienating those people and those potential clients and everything that you want in your future if you show up with the right energy within yourself. If you're showing up the right way and authentic to yourself, and not in a negative, I'm right, listen to me, rah, rah, rah. And that goes for all the time, regardless of pandemic or anything on social media. Cause that's,
Totally.
I think we talked about that on the last one, didn't we? How like negative our social medias used to be. Like you look back on it now and it's like, I only used to take to social media when I was mad about something.
I know. I look back now and I'm like, ugh,
yeah, now I write all the good things and all the positive things. And I mean, for the most part, I'm human. Some days I still go on there and get a little bit angry, but
well, and that's the thing though, but that's authenticity.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're not going out and attacking people. That's just being authentic and showing that like, yeah, shit still pisses us off. Like,
yep.
It is what it is. But that's the thing, is being authentic. And because I think one of the greatest things that pisses me off is when you find an influencer on Instagram or any of the social media platforms and everything is just happy, happy, happy. Like I'm guilty of that too. I don't go on there, but I'm not an angry person. Like I'm a happy-go-lucky person. That's 95% who I am. So I have a lot of good, happy things that I post on my internet or on my Instagram and stuff. But like on the hard days, I do post the hard days. Yeah. Because I hate when you see the people who are just like pooping rainbows and walking around with like glitter guns and stuff, right? Pretending that the pandemic isn't happening or pretending life is perfect. And in reality, those people are struggling. And I think people really need to see the struggle. I think it's so important because
it's relatable.
It gives people permission to show up that way too. Right. Like I remember seeing the first picture of like an overweight girl wearing a bathing suit. And for me, it was like, holy shit, that was just after I'd had my first kid. And it was like, holy shit. Even at that point, I wasn't as heavy as I am now, but it doesn't matter. But the way that I felt about myself in that time, I felt like my body, because of the stretch marks and all the stuff and the gained weight because of being pregnant, being able to see another girl who looked like me in a bathing suit gave me permission to show up that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that that's the thing, is that when people are posting only the super positive and they're posting everything is rainbows and butterflies and glitter and all the things, that it really takes away an opportunity for people to be able to relate to them as a real human, because we all have struggle.
Yeah.
Like we do. We're not immune to it, right?
No
amount of money gets us away from struggle.
No. And I don't think you're like, that's not a positive way to try and manifest and get things in your life that you want, is by being fake online. Like there's nothing wrong with posting the good things when you're feeling good or you do something really awesome. But I think it is important to keep that true, authentic aspect to it. And you have to realize that sometimes you're the thing that's being attracted to somebody else's life for a reason. Like your message is something that they need to see. They need to see the flaw or the struggle or the emotion or the anger or whatever within you that's going to inspire them to be their best self and push for their next. So it's not always stuff's being delivered to you. Sometimes you are the vessel that's being delivered to somebody else too.
Isn't that the first time I'd ever heard that? Was only a couple of years ago. And I was like, holy man. And that actually really helped me get really brave with my social media, because that's exactly it. Sometimes the things that you pray for aren't actually coming to you yet, because you're the thing that's showing up for someone else that's prayed for it. Like, the first time I'd ever heard that, I was like, holy shit. It's like, okay, we'll just push pause. Cause if I'm doing things for other people right now, that's great. Like if you're using me for other people right now and I have to wait a second, okay. I'll wait a second.
Exactly. And it'll be worth it, right? Like you're gonna get it back probably tenfold from what you put out there. But sometimes your raw, vulnerable journey is, it's what somebody else needs in that moment. And
absolutely,
most of the time you're never going to know that you're having that kind of impact. It's just, it's just one of those things that happens. Sometimes people will tell you, they'll reach out and message and say, thank you for whatever. But 9 times out of 10, it's not going to happen. But you just have to keep working. You have to keep striving for that flow state. You have to keep believing that everything happens for a reason. And like when you're pushed to do things, you feel like you're getting gently nudged and then kind of shoved, and pretty soon like somebody's going to drop kick you. Like it's just go for it. Like those feelings like that, those things where you feel like you're rubbing up against an edge, there's something there for you.
There's information there. And that's an invitation for growth. You're like, my kid. And that's the biggest thing, is I think it's so important that as you talk about like the law of attraction and stuff like we were talking about earlier, just the big blimps that you don't expect when you're driving your car. You know, you're in flow state and you're thinking, this is, you know, things are happening. This is the way that I want things to go. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the thing that you totally don't expect to have happen bumps up against you and you go, oh, that didn't feel so good, or, ooh, I don't like that, or whatever. And that's the thing, is those are the times where, especially when you're getting into flow state and stuff, you have to be aware of those times, because that's where your invitation to grow is. And usually when you're in flow state, you get invited to grow a lot of different ways, a lot of different times, right? Because we're human. We have to grow and expand, and or else life just becomes sedentary. We're using some big words today. But that's the thing. If you're not growing, then what are you doing?
Yes. No, you're right.
You're usually dying away, right?
The other thing I feel like that sometimes what happens too, which is what I kind of feel like has been happening lately, like we've been messaging back and forth. Oh my gosh, this is happening. That's happening. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you'll like literally just get into flow, which is what I feel like is just happening.
Yes.
And then you'll get so much good stuff dumped on you that you're right the fuck back out of it, because you're like, oh my God, there's so much going on. Like,
yeah. Can I handle this?
I got this going on. I got that going on. This is going great. That's going great. And I got all these ideas, and all these people are coming to me, and they're like, just everything's like in alignment, but it's so much at the same time. And it's like, fuck, like I got what I asked for and a brand new challenge all at the same time.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And then you're just waiting for the ball to drop. That's where I get stuck, is that I get into that. And then I'm like, okay, what's going to happen? Where, you know, like, something's going to happen and I have to watch, like, I got to see it coming. Right. And that's the thing, is like, you wait for the ball to drop, and then that kicks you out of flow state.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't feel as much right now that I'm waiting for. It's just, there's so much. It's like, okay, what's my priority? Mm-hmm. I have all these ideas related to all these things that are coming, and all these people that are coming into my life that are like willing to help or giving me new ideas. And it's like, fuck, like, what do I start with first? Like, I don't even know how to prioritize, because all the things that are trying to blossom at the same time are all things that I want to grow. And it's like, so sometimes you're just going to get right
shit
in and out.
Kicked.
Just and you just bounce right off the side of it and right back in. It's like,
totally. But that's when you have to ask for help. I think that's like one of the greatest lessons in that, is learning where to ask for help. Right. Learning like truly what your number one priority is, and then growing that thing, because I truly believe that like one tide rises all boats. So what, in that situation, I'd sit back and think, okay, like, if I was to focus on one thing, what would one thing be that would have the most impact on the other things?
Yeah.
Right. But it's hard when you're in it.
It is hard.
Or bumping up against it, trying to get in it. Right. Like, God.
Yeah.
This conversation could be taken so dirty if we weren't talking about flow states.
Bumping up against it and grinding and
110%. We'll have to have like a red light episode. Self Love Uncensored red light episode. So funny.
That's right.
Oh my gosh. Well, do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
I think the only thing did we cover like the asking for what you want thing? I don't know if we really said that. Oh, I guess you did when you talked about your story. Yeah, being clear.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Well, we should touch on that though, that you just nailed it. When you're trying to go after something and you're asking what you want from the universe, to be clear about it.
Yeah.
So, man, I see this so often where people are like, I want a new job, or I want to make X amount of money, or I want to go on a trip. But it's like, where do you want to go on a trip?
Yeah.
Like, get intentional. Like, do you want to take your kids to Disneyland for a week and stay in what hotel? And what do you guys want to eat? Like, really visualize the actual thing happening. Don't just say, I want to go on a trip.
Yeah.
Right.
Or do the research and plan it out, or write about it. Or I think the other thing that we totally miss, Vanessa, which is kind of surprising between the two of us, is practicing gratitude when you get things, right?
Yes.
So if you're saving for a trip to Disneyland and you're going for a walk and you find a nickel on the ground, are you the person that's going to pick it up and be like, oh my God, I cannot freaking believe that I found 5 cents while I'm trying to save for a trip to Disneyland? Or are you going to be like, oh, it's covered, I'm not picking that up. That's disgusting.
No.
Right? Like, I've taught my kids this. My kids will find money and they'll come running up, even if it's in the house and it's probably mine, but whatever. They'll find it and be like, Mom, look, I found this coin on the floor. And I said, thank you, universe.
Yes,
I've taught
that's the
them
thing.
to just
thank you, universe.
It doesn't need to be a big, literally in your head. I'll like be driving through town, coming up to a light, and I'm like, please stay green, please stay green, please stay green. Because if like I'm in a hurry, and then it'll stay green, and I'm like, thank you. And I just, right? Like it just becomes second nature. And it's like, it literally might sound super hokey pokey, and I really don't care.
It doesn't,
I truly believe that it works.
110%. Yeah,
so
it's been that foundation for me.
That's probably step 3 in our circle. So there's energy, the universe, law of attraction, whatever you want to call it, God, all those different things. There's flow state after you've asked for what you wanted, and then there's gratitude, and then you're just going to keep looping around and bumping and grinding.
And also, don't get sucked into the thinking that like as soon as you're going to ask for it, it's going to happen. Yes, and nothing else bad is going to happen. Yes. You have to do the work.
Or what you're asking for might not be the thing that you're destined for either. So,
ooh, that is so good. Isn't that the truth? Yeah. That's the thing, is a lot of times when you ask for something, you don't get it because it's not meant for you. Yeah. And it's not like, it's not that, you know, I don't say that in a way that it's like, you've asked for a trip to Disneyland and it doesn't happen because you're not worth going to Disneyland. Yes. Maybe in 2 years after you were wanting to go to Disneyland, all of a sudden you win a trip to Disneyland, or you win a trip to go to the Bahamas and stay in some whatever, right? Yeah. Or, you know, something happens, like maybe the thing you're asking for, you're not getting because it's not meant for you. And it's not as a negative thing. I always think about that for myself. When opportunities don't materialize that I've asked for, I'm like, okay, it wasn't made for me. That's fine. Yeah. I have to keep hearing these no's until I'm going to find my yes. Right. Yeah. Same with when I was querying book agents and I was getting no's back. God, the first couple no's, I was crushed. I emailed or I texted Erin and I'm like, oh God, this is so hard to be rejected. And she's like, no, because the more no's you get, the closer you are to your yes. And I was like, so that I was putting dance videos on TikTok every time I got a no, because I was like celebrating the shit out of the no's. Yeah. Right. That person was not meant to represent my book. So that's the thing. So important. So important. Yeah. Just make an end goal for yourself. If you ever need help with that, Amanda and I both know how to do that. We teach it through Transformation Weekend. We do it with our group, our coaching. Yeah. And what's the saying? Figure out what your end goal is. And that end goal is always going to change. Mine changed quite a bit over 10 years. I now know what my big goal is. In the last couple of years, it hasn't wavered. But all the ways that I thought it was going to happen have freaking gone shit sideways 5 different times, you know? Exactly. But I know what my end goal is. And, but that came with a lot of growth and a lot of learning about who I am and what I truly want and how I want to impact the world. But there's been so many no's along the way. Like people that we hear or that we see that are quote unquote overnight successes typically aren't overnight successes. Those people have been head down, grinding it out day to day, living paycheck to paycheck for 10 to 15 years before anybody ever heard their name. Yeah. Right. That's a definition of overnight success. Yeah. So, you know, just when you think that nothing's happening is usually when, you know, the universe is calling you to grow a little bit, keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, while you were just talking, I was thinking, I feel like the flow state gets easier to get in and stay in, and there's less bumps out as you get closer to your purpose in life too. So if you're really riding a path, whether it's career wise or whatever, that's just really not meant for you, like you haven't found something that you're super passionate about that is your purpose for why you're here, you're gonna get bumped harder and harder. You're gonna get knocked out easier. You're gonna find more challenges. And as you start getting in alignment with who you truly are and the things that truly set your soul on fire and the things that light you up and that like you would work even if you didn't get paid to do kind of things, that's when it gets less difficult, I would say. I feel like that's how my own journey has been. It was way harder back when I was doing jobs that I was chasing the money for, and that I was doing for the wrong reasons. Right. And now, right now I'm not making as much money as I was before, but I'm doing things that have purpose and that really, truly light me up. And it's easier to get into those good those good flow states and stay in there once you get closer. So if you're
100%.
somebody that's struggling with feeling like you have no idea what we're talking about and you've never been in flow state, maybe just try and pay attention and see if there's some signs that are coming your way that are trying to redirect you in to something else. Maybe there's something that you've always wanted to do since you were a little kid and you just never bothered to pursue it or something. Maybe those are the things that you need to start looking at.
Yeah. I always suggest to people when they don't know their purpose or their goal or their passion, purpose and passion, I think are the biggest things, is take a timeline of your life. Think back to your earliest memory. What are the things that you really did feel would light your soul on fire? Like, what are the things that brought you true joy? And then mold those. You know, those are the anchors for your life. Those are clues as to what your purpose and your passion is, and follow those.
And I think listening to people too, like a lot of times people, especially if you have like good, influential, positive goal setting kind of people around you, they know what you're going to do before you even know. They look at you and they're like, she's going to be this, you're going to be on a stage, you're going to write a book, you're going to be a coach, you're going to be like, they can just see it. They can see it. And the best people that can see that kind of stuff won't tell you what it is that you're supposed to be doing. They'll just be there to kind of,
they allow you to figure it out yourself. Totally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
110%. Absolutely. The work has to be done by you. I feel like if the work isn't done by the person, it doesn't mean as much when they figure it out.
No. Yeah. No. And that's part of like what we teach too, right? Like we're not going to have you walk in the door of a goal setting session or a transformation weekend and be like, I can totally tell you're meant to be an accountant. Like, you know, but it'd be like a 5-minute thing. Okay, here you go. You got your certificate, go home. Thanks for your money. Like,
100%. Yep.
Right. And then you'd be like, wait, what? Like how, what? I don't understand. Whereas if you do the unpacking yourself and figure it out and let the universe and energy and God, whoever it is you believe in, guide you, you will find the thing.
100%. Yeah. And give yourself some credit and don't be so fucking hard on yourself. I think that's another thing. It's just in life, I think we're all way too hard on ourselves. So we have to just give ourselves some massive grace.
Yeah.
Give yourself a hug if you can, if you're not driving.
Yes.
So good.
Yes,
oh my God. So good. Well, we made it through an entire podcast without yelling at our kids on camera. So that's a win.
I know. No, I just did it off camera. It's fine.
You turned it off twice. That's fine.
Thank God for the mute. No, I didn't have to yell. They're just... They needed to come up and very quietly tell me that they were fighting with each other. I was like, oh, okay.
Good.
I guess you stayed quiet. You didn't listen to the no fighting part, but you quietly fought with each other. So awesome.
Yeah. They were like,
all around.
Out of these two, which one am I going to get in more trouble for? Being quiet or fighting with each other? So good.
Oh, God.
So good. Well,
anyways.
Friends, yes. If you
go for it. You're probably already on it. I'm not. We don't plan these ending things very good. We need to record these, Vanessa, and get them done.
Well, you know what? Tequila. We haven't said it yet. Tequila.
I know.
Just our first. No, we are so happy that you have tuned in to listen to us this week. We are so incredibly grateful that you carve out some time during your day to listen to us, listen to what we have to say, listen to our opinions, listen to how much gratitude we have for you, and just showing up, because that's the biggest thing is we really want to show you that showing up as who you are is good enough. And even if it's imperfect, the way that we show up, it's just being human, which is fucking amazing. Right. I think that's the first time I said the F word on our podcast today. Go me.
Pretty sure they were swearing earlier, but it might've been me. But yeah, if all of our listeners could hit subscribe, that'll help remind you when our new episodes drop every single Monday, because sometimes even lately we're managing to forget. This week with the holiday, I swear Monday was like Sunday, and then I felt like it was Tuesday, and now it's Wednesday, and I don't know what day it is.
I know. I just randomly popped on my computer on Saturday, and I was like, oh, we don't have everything uploaded in the thing for Monday morning. Holy shit.
We should probably get on that.
It's just one of those. It's scheduling when we're off on holidays is just, it's a real thing. Have to keep up with it for sure. But yes, please hit subscribe so that on every Monday morning you get a notification that a new episode is dropped. We are so grateful for everybody who's left likes, comments, like I said before, if you'd like to email any questions for us to answer on a future podcast, you can email us at selfloveuncensored@gmail.com.
Yep.
Otherwise, you can find us on all the social media platforms under our names, and below, especially on YouTube. The links are below. Listen to us on iTunes and Spotify. And if you want to actually watch us in action, you can find us on YouTube.
That's right.
Otherwise, I think we're good.
Yeah. Catch everybody on the next episode.
Absolutely. Have a fantastic day, friends.
Bye.
Bye.